What's going on, fam, out there? It's your boy Tahir Johnson, and we're back with another episode of the Cannabis Diversity Report. This week, I got my bro, Rico Lamitte, in the building. Rico, what's going on, fam?
What's happening, Todd Diddy? Up in the place.
Yo.
How you doing, brother?
My man Rico is about to kick off something really big. He's about to launch his company, Cannabis. So people need to get ready for it. So I'm happy to have you here in the building for the announcement. Tell the people out there listening a little bit about Cannabis, and then also yourself. How'd you get in the industry? Because you got a long track record out here.
Yeah, man. So Cannabis is a decentralized media broadcast organization, hub and spoke network. So our hub is out here in Los Angeles, and we have several affiliates all across the globe. We're going to be launching tomorrow, Detroit, Newark, Connecticut, and DC, and we have 18 more in the U.S. Spokes that'll be launched by the end of the year, and it's all about transparency in media, because since the pandemic started, a lot of people in the industry have been silenced, and it's whether it's by design or not is a huge corporate takeover right now, and we're not against corporations at all. We're not against big business. We're just all about showing the full picture. And we want to make sure that people have access to a platform where they can get their ideas out, and they can get out their initiatives and also issues. So we are not narrators. We're not right wing or left wing or anything like that. Whenever there's a huge story in the cannabis industry, we go looking for the other side of that story, who was affected, both positively, negatively, and to get the community's response to what's going on. And so my background, let me give you the expedited version, man. If you want to see the full version, go check out my TED Talk. It's Man Behind the Mask, 3 times the cannabis saved my life. And the last time it saved my life is when it got into the industry. I was 10 years in corporate finance, and I had a tumor in my throat. And luckily, it was benign. It was the first one in my family to have a benign tumor. Everybody else just died, both sides. Whether or not it is fact that cannabis was the reason why mine was benign or not, I don't know. I didn't have the science at the time. I didn't have testing at that time. I wasn't using it as treatment. I was just smoking like all the time and consuming a lot of weed. But I just quit. 10 years corporate finance. I was on top of the world, making a lot of money. But on the other side of that, my wedding was a mess. My marriage was a mess. I was obese. Adult acne. I was stressed out all the time. And I quit, man. I was just done. And I got in and just haven't stopped since, man. 4 years in now. And I helped 2 companies go public, one actively and the other one just consulting on the back end, and started 2 of my own companies, the Swab Life and CBD Sundays. The Swab Life was private parties and events for celebrities, pro athletes, and investors looking to get into the cannabis industry, but they ain't about that sesh life. And CBD Sundays was meditation, yoga, massage upstairs, downstairs CBD infused brunch, bottomless mimosas, and it's franchised out 6 locations, 3 states, and as you can tell, that was shut down with the pandemic. Along the way, I launched Canna Gather Los Angeles out here in LA, and also Canna Gather Orange County. And that's when I really got deeper into the networking side of the industry. I was doing it behind the scenes when I was doing my parties and events, but I was kind of a ghost in the room. People didn't know who I was. And Canna Gather really brought me together with some people, and it also allowed me the opportunity as an activist to connect people at the bottom of the totem pole to the top, and really to find a path around government. And because I just didn't trust it, and then I started an organization that I ended up resigning from because I found out that my partners were shady and they were ripping off the people we were supposed to be serving. And it just didn't sit right with me. I'm not about that. I'm a karma-driven individual. I'm money motivated, but karma-driven. And I'm always going to be like that. And I'm always going to speak what's on my mind, and I'm always going to be there for the people that are around me. So um, where we are right now, I started Cannavision simply because two things. Number one, when I was doing Canna Gather Digital, first part of this the pandemic, all of my sponsorship money, all of my paid RSVPs, they were coming from emerging markets. I had no idea why. I didn't have a lot of contacts out there. Shout out to K Ford. He's the one who connected me with you in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And I wouldn't even have a relationship with him. I wouldn't have a relationship with you. I probably wouldn't on some level, because I strong believer that the universe makes no mistakes, but we often do. And everything is meant to be will be. But it's giving me access to different people in different places, and a lot of them look like me. And that was super refreshing to me, that I don't really have to play that game of, oh, do I take it with these people or those people? Do I have to code switch? Because I don't have to do that anymore. And I absolutely love it. So that's where the idea came from, reaching out to these emerging markets and finding out like what drives them and why they were doing what they were doing with me. And it was access. They needed access to a bigger stage. And why people in my own region weren't paying for anything, because hubris. People in the established markets, California, Colorado, is life right now. Got a dog over here, a baby over there.
No.
Yeah, in established markets, like, oh, I've already seen everything. I've already heard these stories before, and we'll catch it on the replay. And so I was able to build something that satisfies both markets and gives everybody a chance to build their businesses, let them flourish, and just connect with people who are vetted throughout the cannabis industry on all three sides: that's business, medical, and lifestyle.
Absolutely, man. And I felt so many things you said on a lot of different levels. Like, like we always talk about, I came from finance too. And even though I made a lot more money, man, my quality of life is so much better now. Another thing that you said, I know you talked about a little bit about your experience at Canna Gather, and Canna Gather was actually the first cannabis event I ever attended. They were super heavy out here on the East Coast. Like that first Canna Gather event I ever went to, I met Leo Bridgewater. Who else did I meet? I met Al Harrington. I met Mary Pryor. It was all types of people there. Jake and Nelson from Canna Cultural. Like, it was so many people out there. And like a lot of businesses, when COVID came, the organization is not around anymore. What would you say is it that what went wrong? That caused Canna Gather to kind of go defunct during COVID, and what did you learn from that situation, and how does that impact like the way you make decisions going forward?
Yeah, man, I'm always gonna say this to the day that I die, man. Canna Gather digital, on the digital side, we were gonna shut down the company altogether because we're B2B face-to-face marketing. And knowing the baby girl was just right around the corner, I had taken a new position as head of growth at the company. And we had 18 markets. We were making a lot of money, like monthly, and everything got shut down, like literally no revenue for the company. And I decided to, as a Hail Mary, take the company on my back. And what I've been building for myself, video podcasting, and doing a lot of product placement, all that for the brands that I work with. I've been building that for myself either way, just prepping for daddy duty. And I just put the whole company on my platform, and it worked. In the beginning, our first event was March 17th. Like, we were the first ones in March 19th. We were the first ones in the cannabis industry to switch over from B2B face-to-face networking and do something online. We had 1,132 people on the first one, had over 2,000 on the second, and it was dope, man. And so me and Josh, we got to politicking on that, and we were like, yo, let's just try to monetize this thing. And so my end of the bargain was to carry the company flag, wave the flag, make sure that we stay relevant in all markets. And his job, he was supposed to raise money, and we just didn't raise money. So it's like no love lost. There's no animosity between us at all. It's just I had to move forward, and 90 days, like unpaid, and I got a new baby, I got to contribute. So, got to hustle.
Absolutely.
So that's when Cannavision came to mind. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna start my own thing. It's gonna be all about the people. It's gonna be all bottom up, and stepping outside of the matrix and doing what I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I definitely understand that because as everyone knows here at NCIA, we've mostly been an events-based company as well. A lot of our revenue came from our conferences, and with COVID, there's no in-person gatherings, so we've definitely had to shift to kind of going digital. And thankfully, outside of conferences, we have our membership revenue, and like just such a reputation from being here for such a long time. That we're still here able to be doing this. And you're right, y'all. We're like the first cannabis folks to have like a digital event, like out of everybody. And NCIA CEO Aaron was on that joint too.
Yes, he was. And we couldn't. I got to reconnect with him because both of the ones he was supposed to be on, he couldn't. He had like bad connection or something.
Yeah.
He couldn't come through. And yeah, we were trying to just unite people, and that was my big initiative with Canna Gather Digital, was to make sure not only were we diverse culturally, but also regionally, because there's very, very different issues politically, agriculturally, and socially around this country. There's 50 states, and it's hard to manage that, man. And if you can imagine a federally illegal industry and you're a large organization trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing in every state and every region, like, you're gonna stumble. And it is more apparent when I was able to bring people from different places in the country, in the world. Actually, we had 2 guests from Jamaica, we had one from China, and then we also had one from Costa Rica, and and a couple from Puerto Rico. That's America. So you can really see what the world looked like behind green-eyed lenses, and it's beautiful, man. The plant brings people together, and you can really do whatever you want to do in this industry as long as you let the data lead you.
Absolutely. And it is dope that right now, I kind of like the fact that we live in this decentralized world because everything is online, right? Like, yeah. And now you can connect with people all over in ways you never would have been able to. Like right now on the Cannabis Diversity Report, I've got like listeners in like 15 countries, right? So just talk about like being able to reach people all over from the internet, man.
Awesome.
But right. Like you said, like you have to really, to be in the cannabis industry so large, like you definitely have to have boots on the ground in certain regions in order to be successful. And I know you're deeply embedded in the industry there in LA. So yeah. Could you talk a little bit about like what's going on in like the LA cannabis scene? Specifically, could you shed a little bit of light on what's going on with the social equity programs? And then even what needs to be done to fix it?
Okay. Yeah, you bring the heat, man. I love it. I brought it with you. You're reciprocating. All right, so LA industry, man, or California even. So California being a warm state, I always tease my homeboys on the East Coast. I'm from Virginia. I tease my homeboys in Chicago, and I always like send them pictures of me on Christmas Day in shorts. Around, man, we pay the weather tax out here, and it's the same thing as in the cannabis industry. We are events year round, so just a lot of negative stuff and a lot of changing of the guard has happened that nobody knows about, and a lot of these large organizations, large media companies are just not covering these stories because they're not lucrative for them. And I really think like post George Floyd, we had like a great like month like after that, and then the white tears stopped flowing, man.
Yeah. And the next thing.
Yes, it indeed. And I hate being a prophet. I have to like beat my chest a little bit here. I actually got booed off stage, man, a couple of years ago for saying that I love social equity. I love the philosophy behind it. Virgil Grant, the architect of social equity, is like one of my mentors in the industry. But I said, like, I don't think it's going to work. and people were like, oh, you ain't one of us. I was like, no. Like in California, there is no affirmative action. Number one. Number two, California decides to act like a country and not a state, so everything's bottom up, everything's municipality up. So you can't scale at that rate. So you literally do have to have, if you're plant touching, you have to have millions of dollars in order to stay solvent, or you're always raising capital and not really cultivating your company. And number three, biggest of all, it's just a bad deal. If you're a large corporation, so this is social equity 1.0 that I'm talking about right now. We're going to talk about 2 in a second. So it is a bad deal. So if you're a large company looking to incubate for 3 years and you can't have majority interest in this company, what would incentivize you? There's no tax incentive there, but what would incentivize you to actually do the right thing and find somebody that's well qualified that deserves that opportunity? Like if you're in the business world and you're a capitalist, I am. Your job is to make money, right? Make sure that you're making money, your company's making money, your employees are good and they're staying put, they're happy. You really can't do that if you know that somebody's just going to jump ship after 3 years and they're going to use your training and they're going to become a competitor right now. So they're dangling that I don't know if you can cuss like they're dangling that asshole carrot in front of the hardcore capitalists, and they were making it hard from the beginning for qualified folks to actually get good funding sources that aren't predatory and give them a real path to business owning. So let's talk about 2.0. Let's fast forward to 2.0, where we are right now. It's a mess, man. And they're trying to do stuff. DCR here in Los Angeles, Department of Cannabis Regulation, just doing stuff behind closed doors, very, very shady. And it just doesn't help anybody. So about 3 months ago, they said that they were going to huge morality win with social equity. They said that through 2025, 200 more licenses are going to be put out, and they're all going to be social equity. About a little over a month ago, there was an accidental email or accidental change on the website saying that there's no cap on how many licenses one entity can hold.
Accidental.
One of our tipsters hit me up because people knew that I was working on some secret stuff, and they hit me up and said, "Yo, did you hear about this?" And I heard it from 2 other people. I was like, "What's going on here?" And their official response was, "Oh, that it was just a mistake on the website. We all know it was a glitch." That happened 2 weeks ago. Like literally on a Wednesday night, in the middle of the night, they sent out an email. They didn't text message people. Every single social equity applicant in Los Angeles, they have a caseworker dedicated to them. They didn't text them. They didn't call them. Email in the middle of the night, and it said that the cap is going to be lifted off of delivery. And here's why that is such a big deal, man. It's logistics, and the best path to generational wealth. 2 things: business ownership and land ownership. Jeff Bezos, he cracked the code and changed the world with logistics. That's why Uber is such a highly valued company, right? And next up is data, period. So that's why those delivery licenses are so important, and why they're so valuable is because it's logistics, efficiency, getting from point A to point B. Being essential workers here in the cannabis industry, delivery is king, man. Like right now, that's where all those sales are coming from. So if you lift the cap off of how many licenses one entity can have, all it takes is one shell company. All it takes doesn't even have to be a shell company at this moment. All it takes is like one person in one brick and mortar location, one dispatch zone, getting a call from a large, I won't say any names, I won't get sued, getting a call from a very large cannabis company saying, "Hey, how about I give you $20 million and we buy up all of these licenses? They can do that right now. And what that company is essentially, they are becoming a shell company for these large entities once cannabis becomes federally legal. Google, Uber, Amazon, like those are the easy ones. Like who knows like what bigger data companies are going to come out of the woodworks and just buy them up. And what that means to me is that not only did you pull the rug up all these people who are already hurting because they've been paying for storage, they've been paying for their locations for 2 years and 11 months now, and they don't have operating licenses, just bamboozling people. But on top of that, it's just beginning to look like 40 acres and a mule all over again, man. And it is really, my heart goes out to that entire community. And that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing. So we can bring light to a lot of these issues that aren't reaching the mainstream. But even on top of that, from the beginning, I've been one to unite people over common interests that data drives me to. And that's exactly what I was doing with Cannabis, man. Getting social equity applicants in the same room, getting them to shake hands with these C-suite executives who have multi-million up to billion-dollar companies. And because not all of them, some of them are, but not all of them are evil, these C-suite executives. Not all of them are. They just don't have people who look like me and you. They don't have women. They don't have the queer community. They don't have Native Americans in their boardrooms. And that was my way of bringing those worlds together. And I can proudly say, last year with Canna Gather LA, we had 21 folks got funding, and 6 of them were social equity applicants. And I'm not a broker. I'm not in finance anymore. And this is just, I know people on both ends of that, me being from the corporate world originally, and then being in corporate cannabis, and then leaving corporate cannabis. While on the side when I was at corporate cannabis, I was still doing my activist thing. And now I'm just like straight in the streets, man. Like I love it. It's very stressful. It's a lot of pressure. Pressure makes diamonds. And I'm trying to shine with my whole team, man. That's it. Like it's not fun to be on a mountaintop alone. I'd rather be on a plateau with the whole crew, man.
Right. Now I feel you, man. That's definitely what it's all about. Business is so much more fun when you get to do it with your friends and do it with people you like. And just to talk about California a little bit more, California is still the country's like largest and most influential cannabis market. So everything else we typically are following California, right? The stuff out here on the East Coast that we get is definitely behind, what you guys have going on. So what would you say are like currently some of the trends that you see in the industry out there? Like, what's most popular? Like, where's the industry kind of going in California?
So we're actually addressing that with Cannavision. It's not going where everybody thinks that it's going. The reason why the hub for Cannavision is Los Angeles is because of what you just said. Everybody is following California. I am of not just the mindset, like everything in my soul and my entirety is telling me to tell people like, yo, look at us for what not to do. Straight up. Like I think California is the microcosm of what's going to happen on the rest of the nation. And you just got to know that there's like different terrain all over this country when it comes to social equity, when it comes to products, when it comes to the supply chain, all of that, where flower is huge, man. And it's going to be even bigger because of the fires out here. And everything's on fire here. You saw me driving to my studio out in Los Alamitos, which is right between Long Beach and Orange County. Like, you're like, what the hell is going on down there? Like, the whole state's on fire. And the reason why is because they're no longer getting slave labor from prisoners. These prisoners that are on COVID-19 house arrest right now, they were making like $3 a day to fight all these forest fires for like the last 20 years.
Wow, I never knew that.
This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. And so what that means is there's no outdoor harvest this year, bro. Like all of it, none of that's going to test well.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
see
gonna,
the skies red in all the pictures I see of like people from California posting. It's crazy.
bro, it's about to be really, really ugly. And so this is me. This is where I get all juiced up because there's like new information that comes into me. And before my business partner Fred came along, I didn't really know how to like handle all of this information like coming at me from left and right. People asking me because I was a plug before. I'm probably gonna lose out on a little bit of money, but I can keep on going, bring enough in where it doesn't really matter. But now I'm like, yo, this coming from over here, this coming from over here. I got to channel it, and all of this information start coming in from me, man. And I'm hearing that certain product is going from California. So, number one, rewind about 8 months or so, and you're gonna see the cannabis landscape on Instagram for California totally different. You see a lot of trappers on it, a lot of brands you've never heard of because they're not licensed, and a lot of those guys, for better or worse, like I got love for the trap. I got love for like everybody on the underground. Why are you trapping on Instagram, man? Instagram's owned by Facebook, and it's the biggest snitch on on earth, right? So there's a lot of cats that are doing that. They got scooped up. Period. The smart ones, there's a lot of product being moved out of state, just like that. Like and that's smart money. And I don't mean it's the right thing to do. There's a difference between smart and morally sound or legal. But going out of state, California products going through the roof in other states, and there's been a huge crackdown on everything here, legal and illegal, and a lot of stuff is happening that nobody knows about because there's no rallies, there's no city hall meetings, and when Fred joined our team, my COO, my partner, he joined our team. We had a huge tip about the DCR thing, right? About the licenses, and they have a Zoom that they do from City Hall. And when we're doing these in person, these City Hall meetings, 300 plus people. The public testimonials would be like a couple hours long. And they literally put out, they like, okay, we have a meeting on Thursday. They put this out like almost at midnight on Tuesday via email. And these people out here scratching for every dollar that they can get. Like a lot of people didn't even know that meeting was going to even occur. The Zoom was crappy. I got kicked off of the Zoom like 3 times. They didn't even have a video for the Zoom when the public comment section was on. It was just a mess for the first part, but as soon as they got off of the public statements, everything worked perfectly. Wow. So before I cast any stones, I just ask questions. Like, period. I ask questions like, so what exactly happened here? What is your motive? That's the kind of stuff that I do. I don't assume anything. And I blame like 3 for my pragmatism there. Like Fred, my partner, because he's an incredible human being. You have like a whole digital like story on him alone and what he's done. But then Mila Diamond, my life coach, and yes, I have a life coach. No, I'm not a middle-aged white man. and my wife, just keeping me grounded and just allowing me to. I was really, really, really pissed off when George Floyd happened. I had my little girl here, newborn, and I couldn't be out on the streets like protesting. But my nucleus, those 3 people, they're like, yo, like control the controllable, take care of your nucleus, what's at home, and take a step back and look at the big picture. And that's exactly the mantra. That's the philosophy behind Cannavision. We're controlling the controllable, making sure we rally with the community, but we're aware of the big situations that we may or may not have control over, right? And I've been hit with a lot of stuff like during this pandemic, and I think the best thing for me to do, rather than take sides with people, is give them a microphone. And that was the one thing that I said on Canna Gather Digital after George Floyd happened. Man, I was I was fucked up, man. I was torn up inside out. And three people. I have a lot of white friends. Three of them reached out and said something, like in like a week and a half. And Mila, my life coach, she reached out and she's like, Rico, the community needs you. You haven't said anything about, the George Floyd thing. The community's reeling. You have to say something. And I'm like, I try so hard not to be emotional. I try so hard to, toe the line. And that was the first time I cracked, man. I just let everybody know, man. We've been screaming about this shit for hundreds of years now. It's always an excuse. Oh yeah, you never should have ran away. Oh yeah, he never should have been playing in his pocket. Oh yeah, this, that. It's always an excuse. If my melanin deficient friends on the other side of the screen, if they really want to help right now, because that's what I kept on getting these questions like, how can I help? How can I help? Like, we've been talking about this for years and y'all ain't never helped. Like, now just because somebody got lynched publicly, you're going to all of a sudden catch a conscience. I'm from the South, man. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. So if you mean it, there's two things you can do. Money or the microphone. Give us access to build our own shit, because we've tried playing your way and it's just not happening. Or give us access to your platforms. And that's it. Like, I don't really, sympathy is fleeting, and sympathy is not only the subjective, it's, you're relying on the person that is giving you that sympathy. You have to believe them, right? Like, I just don't. Like, I've seen too much in this lifetime. I've known too many people, very of diverse backgrounds, to know that I believe what is done, not what is said. And I think those are two most powerful things that you can give somebody access to, is money to do better, so they have access and they can actually build their own shit, or the microphone, man. Give me that megaphone. Like, give me that platform so I can actually tell you what's going on. Because I don't want to play a game of telephone where you're telling people half of what I told you. Let me tell my story. Let me tell my people's story. Let my people tell their story. And let me tell you how it is. And if you choose to believe me, awesome. If you don't, I never thought you would in the first place. You showed me that you don't. So I just really feel like we're in a pivotal, extremely pivotal moment in history. And we really need to get away from these shiny objects. And we need to move towards economic, not just economic freedom, our own economic institutions. And I don't mean that as just Black people. I mean that as the entire inclusive community. Like, it shouldn't matter what color skin you are. On paper, it doesn't, right? So, like, we play within the same rules, create our own damn system, and make it so they have to leave their system, their racist system. They're doing whatever they're doing over there, racist. Like, cool, be racist over there. We over here getting it, having a good time. Be mad, right? Like, come join our system, straighten your shit up, and come on over here. I would much rather build my own system, build my own institution with a bunch of people who believe in the same core tenets that I do, rather than wait on something that's never come in my lifetime, didn't come in my parents, my grandparents' lifetime, and I just don't believe it. Period. Right. So back to what's going on in California in the industry, like flower prices up because of the fires, and people don't have to sneak and get high like they were before, like going to work, because they're at home. But also edibles and my big prediction, the data are telling me this, is drinkables are going to be huge, man. What we really couldn't figure out before on the logistics side, because of storage, was the packaging for drinks. That was the biggest roadblock with it. So you have the soluble items that you can mix in, but You have some people that are building their own plants now. Shout out to Tinley across the bridge over here in Long Beach, building their own factories so they don't have to worry about uh, delivery companies or distribution centers that can't take the size of their product. And that was the biggest roadblock there. But drinkables are going to be huge. Like I think they're going to eclipse everything else on the market, period. So I think that's where it's going. In California first, and then in the rest of the industry next. Flower is still king, but edibles and extracts are consistently chipping away from that. And if Colorado, shout out to Vince, if Colorado is any barometer of success, like everything's going to go some way or the other into the extract category. But you're always going to have people like me that love to smoke, like you. I know you like to smoke too.
I love flower, man.
Yeah, you're always going to have people that love that and people that love craft flower. But I think that it's headed towards ingestibles, period.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. And you know, a lot of what you talked about, something that you talked about in your and you know what you were just saying was giving people the money and the microphone. And that made me, when you said money and microphone, it made me just think of the fact that Jay-Z's jumping into the cannabis industry. Like he just made the announcement a couple of days ago, right? Like, you know, what do you think about the deal, like what he's doing? And do you think that Jay-Z coming into the industry, does that shift anything? We've seen where he's been impacting a lot of other places. Like, what do you think about it in general?
I love that you're asking me this question because we both have financial backgrounds, right? A lot of people don't realize, a lot of people don't understand people with money that long. When you're a billionaire, right? He has a ton of investments that you're never, ever, ever going to hear about. And so there goes my light again. Yeah, he has a ton of investments that you're never going to hear about, period. And with that being said, he's been in Caliva, like back when Caliva was my client, back when I was at Baker Technologies. He was a Caliva back then, which makes me believe, I'm speculating right now, makes me believe that Caliva paid him a certain amount for them to be able to say that he was one of their investors, number one. And then there's a huge hatred towards him, very similar to what mainstream America saw with the NFL deal that he made. There's a lot of hatred within the cannabis community for him going with Caliva because it's a white-owned company. And like me, putting my financial hat back on, hopping in my DeLorean, going back 5 years, like guys that are that big, like if they make investments in a risky industry, it's probably going to be a sure bet, right? Because you got to have like less than 5% of your portfolio is going to be high risk, generally around like 3%. And he probably isn't even a huge investor in Caliva, but even if he is, huge to us is not huge to a billionaire. So he started with them, I think it was like a year and a half, maybe over 2 years ago. And him jumping in on the product side, I'd be interested to see what's behind it. And that's it. I'm a whole judgment. I consult with a lot of celebrities, pro athletes, and if it's just a strain, I always try to talk that conversation through with those clients before I try to talk them off that ledge, because I'm like, your brand is not Wiz Khalifa. They have a lot of hip hop artists. I won't say any names, like some of my clients. They have like this competitive edge. I love that about them. That's why athletes really vibe with rappers. And they come in, I want to have my strain. I have this strain. First off, they always say strand. I'm like, yo, it's strain. But they always come in and they want to compete with Game. They want to compete with Wiz. They want to compete with Burner. I'm like, they are Burner, Wiz, Game. They are stoner culture, right? They're part of the culture. They do stoner rap. Game to a little lesser extent, but he still does like California, like a weed smoking rap. You're coming from New York. So, and you have like complex bars, which I love. I'm an East Coaster myself. Complex bars, like rhyme schemes and all that stuff. Like, why don't we do something that's educational and do something more complex? that's what needs to be done. That's actually what I'm doing right now. I have a couple of clients. One of them I already talked about in my Forbes article. You a Forbes alum too? Dig it. Yeah, in the Forbes article, AZ out of New York. First thing he said, I want to strain. I was like, yo, like, tell me, let's talk about that. Why? What are your motivations behind that? And so we got him on the CBD. Talk about his educational journey into CBD and to relay that information to a lot of people on the East Coast, a lot of people in emerging markets that don't have that knowledge that we have been privileged to have over 20 years here, quasi legalization. And so with Jay-Z and what he's doing with his brand, I love the branding, but I don't have enough information to say like, yo, is this a good move or not? And he's a very, very smart businessman. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot behind that we have no idea what's going to happen next. So I'm excited for it. And I'm really excited because he's a mountain mover, man. And we can have a whole nother episode like Nas versus Jay-Z, like Big versus Pac. But those are my two favorites. Like broke my heart when they started going against each other, Nas and Jay-Z. And the reason why I love Jay more than Nas, right? Because I thought Nas was more like Pac, and I thought Jay was more like Big. Jay does so much philanthropy, so much stuff behind the scenes, but he knows that's not his public brand. He doesn't have to put that in his songs to actually do that work. That's what a lot of people like lose sight of. People of that stature, people that have money that long, they're doing a lot of stuff in the Black community. They're doing a lot of stuff with Black brands. I'm sure Jay-Z in his portfolio has a diversified cannabis portfolio, and all that you're seeing is what he's doing with Caliva. And I think it's smart. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's smart. I'm excited to see what comes next of him and the brand over there. And we'll just have to wait and see. I want to be speculative on it, but I just know too much when it comes to cats coming in the game. And he has been very calculated. He's been in for a while. He just hasn't said it.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Like you said, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. And then, like you said, he's been there for a while. Like it was over a year ago, and they announced he was going to be like the head of brand strategy. And like you said, he's done this before. Like he came into Budweiser, has done the same thing. So I definitely expected it's going to have some type of, huge impact on the industry overall, man.
Recession-proof businesses.
Yeah, man.
Stock, you know that.
That's what it's all about, man. Like you said, he's smart investments, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, we got a bunch of different conversations. We could go off on a tangent on if we wanted to, but I know you're busy, man. You got your big launch tomorrow, man.
I got Happy Monkey coming up in a minute, man. Yes, you got a big launch.
Yes,
big launch, man.
Big launch, man. So, for one last thing, I do want to ask you though, because not only have you transitioned from like corporate America to cannabis, but you've also done a lot of different things in the space. You were previously an athlete. I think a lot of different things that people connect with on a lot of different levels. Like, what advice do you really have for, other people of color, like brothers and sisters that want to try to transition into the cannabis industry from wherever they are?
My piece of advice would be for people of color. I got to go back to what you said about people inspiring you. You said about Hope Wiseman. Got to bring it back to that, man. I got to give you props for saying that. Like Hope Wiseman, inspiring you. Her coming from investment banking is we have intelligent. Trying to use my words right here. We have intelligent audience-facing people in the industry. Reach out, ask them about their honest experiences, positive and negative. And I think you'll be pretty quick to come to a conclusion that you should be in the industry for a multitude of reasons. And my biggest reason to join the industry should not have ever been reached. Like the fact that I had a tumor and I was like, yo, like fuck this, the corporate world. I jumped at that point. I should have left 3 years prior to that. To look at the facts that cannabis is medicine. There's nothing like it on this planet. It's been around for thousands upon thousands of years. Look at all these ancient tombs, sarcophagi, and they all have their stash buried with their stash, right?
If I die, bury me with the stash.
You got to do a Todd Diddy like
Yeah.
you're like doing planks or you're doing like some leg ups.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you just come to grips with it, and the data don't lie. Like Fred, I keep on referencing Fred because he's my guy, and he's like my guiding light too. Bring the data, not the drama. Like, take a step outside of the theatrics, the emotion, what your community is telling you, what your institutions that you've been brought up on, and think about yourself, what your own thoughts are, your own inclinations, and look at the data. The data is pointing to an agricultural revolution. We're at the edge, the cusp of an agriculturally based economy. And was it Exxon? Not Exxon. It was Mobil Oil. Like last month was delisted. The world has changed. Yeah. Yes. The world has changed. This is what I'm saying, man. We're all focused on these shiny objects. Like, look at what's going on in the world. The world is changing around us, and everything that is around us can be built by hemp.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
Right. We're so worried here about Donald Trump's racism, his racist tweets, which are an issue. Don't get me wrong, but we're worried about that, and it's blocking us from getting to the bag. And that's why we talked about this before. We have less than 5% ownership in this industry because we're worried about chasing what somebody else made money off of. If everybody but African American community capitalizes off of our swag, right? Why are we chasing their dollars?
True story, man.
Straight up. This industry, especially the hemp stuff, man, like people need to do their history, like learn about hemp. It wasn't just about cotton. Like after slave times, like the hemp industry was ours. Like, and everything around us can be built by hempcrete, hemp plastics, on and on and on. And the rest of the world, not just here in America and Amsterdam, pretty much that's where cannabis culture is. The rest of the world, they're moving forward with medical and they're moving forward with industrial hemp. So if you're stuck on that old world stuff and you see Rome crumbling around you, like it's time for you to hop on that lifeboat early and get on this thing before it takes off, because hockey stick, that's where we're at right now, man. And right. Am I right? Like,
yeah, that's it. Like they always say in the investment world, to give another financial reference, right? Don't go where the puck is, go where it's going, right? You gotta think down the line for real. So
yes, the shoot a duck. I always say shoot a duck. Learn how to shoot a duck. Some countries learn how to shoot a duck, man. You shoot in front of that thing.
Yeah.
You aim to where it's going to be. And we have enough technology right now that tells us this is where it's going, whether it's on the technical side, whether it's on the fundamental side. I'm talking these financial terms because that's to the core of me, and I don't regret being in finance because it's given me the knowledge to take a pragmatic stance when it comes to this opportunity. And when you look at the qualitative and the quantitative, so the qualitative being the EQ side of things, the quantitative being like the numbers, charts, and the IQ side of things, everything's pointing green. Go green. The Green New Deal should be all about cannabis. Straight up.
Absolutely, man. That's true, man. And yo, Rico, I appreciate you coming through today. We're going to get up out of here. Like I said, let you get back to it, man. But just tell people where they can find more information about Cannavision, and they can find you on social media and everywhere else.
Absolutely, brother. You can find us at www.cannavision.com, CANIVISION, Canivision. And You can find our social media is at can.i.vision. Myself, you can always follow me in my crazy adventures at either at my website, www.thesuavelife.com. You can find me on social media at Rico Lamitte. I'm me. I don't need to be nobody else.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for coming through, and I'll catch up with you soon, fam.
Appreciate you, G. Appreciate you. And I'm glad I finally got to be on the show.
You already know you here, man. Be easy, man.